Welcome back to Making It in Motorsports. I just got back from a drift championship and it is 3 in the morning, but I don't care. I'm very excited to record this episode. First of all, the first two episodes were very successful. Thanks to all of you. Thank you for the comments, the feedback, the shares, just generally pointing me in the right direction. And I will keep making more of these videos. As long as you guys are enjoying and watching this, I'll keep doing the best I can to release as much as I can. This is a very broad field, and there is a lot to share in regards to everything I've learned in motorsports. The first two episodes focused on getting started in motorsports. It was basically teaching the absolute basics from zero, giving you pragmatic advice, just things you can use just to take the jump into that world. Now, the other thing that you guys voted for was the sponsorship and business side of motorsports. Now, this is an insanely complex and difficult part of the industry. And, you know, if it was simple, everybody would be a pro driver right now. So this is a large field to pick apart, but I'll do my absolute best to sort of shrink it down to bite-sized chunks that you guys could watch and learn from. So I'm going to attempt that, and if I miss anything or if you guys have any questions, please let me know, and I'll do my best to share as much as I can. All right, let's get started with episode 3. Let's start things off nice and simple by looking at the definition difference between professional, semi-professional, and amateur, also known as gentleman drivers. And the reason why is because it seems like everybody and their mother and their pet dog like to call themselves professional race car drivers. And that's factually wrong. And I know this can be a little bit of a touchy subject, but I really feel that semi-professional and amateur don't get the respect that they deserve. So, professional race car driver, the definition, to my knowledge and to the knowledge of the people who train me and the people I work with, is someone who does it as a profession. You work directly under your sponsor. It is a full-time job, and your sponsor covers your expenses as well as a salary. So that is simply what a professional race car driver is. He is a professional. It's their profession. Then when you move to semi-pro, semi-pro can be someone who has their expenses covered, but they have to get their salary elsewhere. So you could work a regular job and in the weekday, and in the weekend, you're a race car driver. So you're semi or semi-professional. An amateur is self-funded. They basically cover the majority of their racing from their own pocket or from their family's pocket. And this is where it gets touchy, because the majority of race car drivers in the world, 99% or even more, are amateur, are self-funded. And the reason why amateurs like to use the word professional, they like to refer to themselves as professional race car drivers, especially if they're very experienced or higher ranked, is because a general member of the audience, if you tell them here is a professional and here is an amateur, they will naturally assume that the professional is more skilled than the gentleman racer. And I am here to tell you that is not always the case. I have seen many gentleman drivers who are more skilled than some professional drivers. So professional, semi-professional, and amateur is simply a status of your career. Are you doing this full-time? Are you doing this part-time? Or are you doing this for fun? Are you just enjoying your time and paying from your pocket? And that is all it means. So I just wanted to clear that out of the way first. Now, what exactly is our business as race car drivers? Well, to keep it very simple, we are marketing. Now, let me give you somewhat of a story. We live in a very noisy world. You open your phone, and straight away, social media algorithms are giving you all kinds of sponsored ads and trying to sell you things and try and remind you of brands. You step out your front door, there's signboards everywhere. You're driving on the highway, there's just billboards. You go to watch a movie, there's ads there. You watch TV, there's ads there. You open magazines, there's ads. It's a very noisy world. And naturally, our brain filters, we habituate. So, in the same way, how if you live in a big city, your brain slowly filters away the sound of a buzzing air conditioning unit or the sound of cars. Your brain purposefully makes them quieter because it habituated. It doesn't want to keep giving you those signals because it's hearing them all the time. And that's why when you have a friend visit from the countryside, they're like, damn, the city's so noisy. And you don't really pick up on the things that they hear for the first time. You have to really focus on them before your brain hears them. It allows you to hear them. And it's the same thing with visuals as well. Our brains are really good at filtering out visuals, visual ads. And if we're getting noisy ads, like this noisy environment where ads are constantly being thrown at us, we naturally habituate and our brains will naturally filter all of the ads. And think about this. When you use social media and you're going through maybe your Instagram, sometimes you're liking a picture or a video before it even has a chance to load. Just by simply looking at the thumbnail, you're already double tapping and moving on to the next thing. So we have learned to filter ads. That's bad news for companies. And the reason why is because companies are constantly trying to grab your attention. But if they're having to compete with all this noise, it's very, very difficult for them to get ahead and to get their message across to you. So that is one of the reasons why you would hire a race car driver or a skateboarder or any kind of athlete or any kind of unique marketing channel, which is what we are. We stand out. People seeing regular ads are going to skip right through them all, but as soon as they see a cool looking race car, ooh, all of a sudden that hits them in a passionate area in their heart. And they will pause. And that tiny pause could be just enough for a company to advertise. So that's one reason. The other little story I want to throw out there is my friendly neighbor hypothesis. This is kind of something I made up just based on observation. I'm sure there's a lot of examples like this, but this is my personal observation, and this is what I like to teach. So, the friendly neighbor. How do companies advertise if you had to really simplify it to a humanized story? Well, imagine you're in a new neighborhood and you walk to work every day, and you have a neighbor down the road, and the neighbor also walks to work every day, and every day your paths cross. Now, the first time you pass this neighbor, you don't notice them. After a few times, your mind recognizes them, and maybe you'll just look at them, glance at them. After a few more days go by and you pass each other some more, now both of you recognize each other. Maybe you'll give each other a nod, or a smile, or maybe even a good morning. And over time, as you pass by each other more and more and more, that good morning becomes good morning, how are you? Then it becomes a good morning, how are you? How are the kids? And then eventually it becomes a full-blown conversation and an invitation to their house, and suddenly you become friends. And if that neighbor didn't walk past you, if that neighbor had just stayed in their home and avoided people, you would have never become friends. Well, it's like that when it comes to advertising, when it comes to companies trying to market themselves to their target audience. And they're basically trying to, maybe the first time, you'll get a glimpse of a logo or a glimpse of some brand colors, but you won't quite pick up on it. But if you do it enough times, your mind will feel comfortable with that brand. And all of a sudden, you will have something called an impulse buy. So, why would you commit to something that you don't recognize? Snickers, Bounty, Mars, you recognize those, you'll go for them. And it's the same thing with human beings in general. When we are going into a store, and we want to grab some shampoo, or we want to grab some fruits, or some kind of headphones, or whatever, by us recognizing the brand, feeling comfortable with the brand, and sometimes you can go even further, falling in love with the brand. There are brands that relate so well to their target audience. The brand loyalty is so strong that they will seek out the brand, right? That is done by the friendly neighbor hypothesis, by constantly showing your brand and slowly building this relationship with your target audience in order to gain their loyalty, so that in the future, when it comes time for them to buy something, they will choose your brand. Now, it's a noisy world, and the friendly neighbor hypothesis is a very simplified version. In reality, this isn't a quiet neighborhood where you're walking past your neighbor. This is a loud, noisy New York or London or wherever neighborhood where it's hustle and bustle and millions of people walking past each other. How does the friendly neighbor stand out? Well, it's very difficult. That's where we come along. That is where unique marketing channels like Motorsports comes along, and it helps brands stand out from the crowd. If anyone watches The Matrix, the lady in the red dress, all of these people wearing business suits, and all of a sudden, the lady in the red dress grabs your attention. And that's basically what we need to provide to our sponsors, our marketing partners. We need to provide to them a service that turns us into the lady in the red dress, so we can stand out and be noticed by their target audience. So that is basically the sort of about as simple as I can make it, in regards to the noise that you have to deal with. And the reason why I gave those stories is because if you are ever in front of a potential sponsor, this is something that I would recommend including in your proposal. Remember, when you're approaching a sponsor, you're not just offering a service. You also need to educate them. You need to get them to understand why a race car driver is unique. Or if they already know, you are simply confirming to them that you also understand the dynamics of corporate marketing. Right, now that we've gone through the sort of complicated story part of why we are a unique marketing channel and why we may be desired by companies, it gets quite simple after that, right? A race car driver is a brand ambassador. We are the face of the company. We are the spokesperson of the company. We are also branded by the company, so we're technically a mascot. The race car is a high-speed billboard. All those logos is just a high-speed billboard. In the same way how your eyes are looking at a signboard that you pass on the highway, the only difference is rather than you passing a signboard, the race car is a signboard that passes you. But in the end, is simply a high-speed billboard, is also a company mascot. It's an icon. It's something that, especially if it's a very unique vehicle that stands out. Ken Block is another wonderful example of this. The various vehicles that he's built over his career. The Unicorn is a great example. But many, many, many other cars and drivers can stand out because of their cars. This is the reason why I selected a 1934 Ford Legend car. And the reason why is because there is no Legend car. Well, there was no Legend cars in this region of the world. And I wanted to stand out. And I thought, okay, if I build myself a regular race car or I buy something that already exists in the market, then I'm just like every other race car driver. But if I can bring something truly unique that hasn't been seen in this region of the world, i.e. a Legend car, I would stick out, I would stand out. And I really did. At the start of my career, I turned heads simply for the fact that no one has ever seen a car like that before. Now, since race car drivers are a marketing channel, and if you view yourself as a marketing channel rather than just as a driver, you will understand that you can cater to various fields. We're not just restricted to the automotive world. We have seen race cars with Holiday Inn and Crown Plaza on them. We've seen Norton Antivirus. We've seen Pfizer, Novo Nordisk, in the medical field. We've seen banks, we've seen airlines, insurance companies, fast-moving consumer goods, FMCG, remember that? We've seen all kinds of brands, so it doesn't discriminate. I've even seen Iron Man 3, the movie, being advertised on a race car. So we are simply a unique marketing channel. So take the idea of driver, put that to one side, and think, I am a marketing channel. I can work with any company, but I can work with any company that matches my persona. You got to remember that what you portray, your character, who you are as a race car driver, matters very much to the brand you're going to represent. For example, I eat 1 kilo of meat every day. It does not make sense for me to be sponsored by Beyond Beef or Beyond Burger, whatever the hell they're called. I am a man, and it doesn't make sense for me to be sponsored. Well, I'm a man who doesn't wear makeup. There are some dudes out there wear makeup, whatever. I'm a man who doesn't wear makeup. It doesn't make sense for me to be sponsored by MAC lipstick or L'Oreal shampoo. So, so you have to sit there and think, what company can I approach that matches my persona, that matches my audience? Their target audience should sort of cross over with your potential or existing audience. Now, another misconception is branding. Oh, I'm just going to put branding on the car. I'll put your logo on the car. That's why you should pay me. And the sponsor could reply with, why? Why should I pay you for putting branding on the car? Oh, because I race in a championship and 5,000 people come to watch the championship. Ah, now you're on to something. 5,000 people. Okay, 5,000 potential views. But how many cars are on the grid? Oh, there's 30 cars on the grid. So you're one of 30. What makes you stand out from the 30 cars? You see, this is the kind of negotiation that needs to go back and forth in your mind before you even approach a sponsor. What makes you different? What makes you stand out? What makes you the best driver to sponsor? And here is where we come to a very, very, very harsh reality in this industry. We have people who fund their own racing. And so, since they're already spending, and I'm saying this with absolute respect to amateur gentlemen drivers and so on, I really mean this with respect, but they are people who are funding their racing and they're already spending money. So, any discount they can get, they'll be more than happy to sell themselves cheap. Not all of them, but generally. And the way I like to think about it is, imagine if being an accountant was a job that was so fun that not only will people do the job for free, some people would be willing to pay the CEO of the company money just so they can work as an accountant. That sounds absolutely insane, doesn't it? Well, that's the insane world of racing. The job is so fun, it's so sought after. Everybody wants to be a race car driver that people are willing to pay to do the job. Let alone, like do it for free, but they'll pay, right? And this is where there is a distortion in market value. You as a race car driver, if you're planning to go pro, have to compete with drivers who are self-funded and even semi-professional drivers who will happily sell a service for cheaper. And there's no way you can argue with it because they may sell a service as good as yours or better, right? If a race car driver comes along and says, not only will I cover the cost of my car, I'll cover the cost of my team, I'll cover the cost of everything, all I want you to do is just cover the cost of my transport and my accommodation. That's it. That's a fraction of the cost of you coming along and saying, I need you to cover everything, including pay me a salary. Which one are they going to go for? Of course, they're going to go for the cheaper option because in the end, all they care about is what do they get back. If you're both providing the same service, but someone wealthier than you is able to cover all of their costs and charge a fraction of your cost simply because they're doing it for fun and you're trying to do this as a career, they will win. And sadly, that's the harsh reality of the industry, and yet another reason why why the race car drivers, the professional race car drivers, are so rare. So sadly, you're gonna have to provide a value, a level of service that is so high, so reliable, that the company that will potentially sponsor you will value you more than people that are diluting the market and doing it for fun. Such is life. Now, I know sometimes when I talk about the harsh realities of racing, it may come off as very pessimistic or negative, but it's honestly not my intention. I'm not trying to scare anyone away from this field, and I'm not trying to deter anyone from taking the leap into hopefully becoming a professional driver. I simply don't want to sugarcoat or BS you guys. You know, I could sit there and be like, oh, manifest your dreams and get some healing stones, or no offense to anybody who uses healing stones, but you know, that whole manifest your dreams crap, it's not going to help. It's not going to help you. What will help you, in my belief, is solid, pragmatic advice, blunt, straight to the point. The things that people may not necessarily want to talk about, I want to talk about it. And I really think that's going to be more useful because if you do take that leap, you will at least expect the challenges that you may face rather than them just surprising you and knocking you out, you know? So that's why I do it. And that gets me to my next point, which is, why do you want to do this? You know, really think deeply about this because it's a very difficult journey. And if you are going to take this risk, it involves a lot of sacrifice. You know, your time, your energy, your even your emotions. You know, all that stuff. Take that into account. Have a think about that, and really think: Why do you want this? Are you running away from something? Is this something you've always wanted? Do you want the fame? Do you want the spotlight? Do you want the adrenaline? For me, I simply wanted to make an engineer's salary, but racing cars. And it has been a blessing to have made it happen. And I'm very thankful for the stars aligning and for the success of the career. So I wish that on everybody. I'm genuinely super happy when I see someone closing a sponsorship deal. Actually, I just got back from that drift event tonight where I went to go see a friend of mine who took some good advice and managed to actually close a title sponsor, and he did very well in the drift championship, and I'm rooting for him, and he deserves all the success. Very nice guy, both of them actually. He's got a teammate as well. Both very nice guys, and it really, really genuinely makes me happy because it reminds me of when I first closed my first contract, and it changes your life. So it is worth taking that leap as long as you take the leap intelligently. Calculate, don't just leap through emotion. Yeah, I think that's good for this episode. It got a little intense and deep at the end, but I will be back with more soon. But thank you all for watching. Thank you for the support. It really means the world to me, and I will keep doing this for as long as I can, as long as you're all enjoying it. And yeah, thanks for watching.